Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom. Let's talk about it. Okay, so I've put off this review for a significant amount of time now, over 3 weeks. Basically, because I don't have that much to say. And I want to always be sensitive to the fact that I like specific movies and other people don't necessarily agree with me. And other people like movies and I don't necessarily agree with them. This is just genuinely my opinion. I just feel like it's gonna come across a little bit more negative than some of my other more negative reviews simply because it's Aquaman. You know anything about me or you've been on the channel for a while, I'm not necessarily a DC fan, but I am certainly not really an Aquaman fan. I like Jason Momoa, and there's a lot about the concept of Aquaman that I really could get on board with. Like, I think he's funny, I like the comedic humor he brings, whereas the first film I had actual plot point issues with. With the sequel, I felt very much like everything in the film I had seen before. And to be fair, a lot of the films that I do really love have a lot of things that people have seen before. Film is not made in a vacuum, and if you want to be like kind of more negative about it, most stories, almost all stories, some would say, have been told before. So we're all just piecing together every little bit of something else to make something new. And in this, I really felt, though, not kind of the combination of a bunch of different parts to make something that felt new and special and unique, but something that just didn't, that I just constantly was like, this isn't as good as this other thing it's trying to be. The number one thing that this film is trying to be is a Thor movie. And more specifically, it's trying to be Thor Ragnarok, like very hardcore. The reason I say this is a lot of the promos for this film, including the poster that's the thumbnail of this video, includes Thor with his brother, who is younger than him, who is evil, who he fought in a prior film, who he has to team up with because of the brother's knowledge, because the brother is less like brawn and muscle and he's more maybe like intellectual. And I wonder if we've seen that before. And more specifically, I wonder if we've seen that in a superhero film. We have. It's called Thor Ragnarok, and it's Loki and Thor. And obviously, there's kind of an archetype of superheroes, of pretty much any character, but especially superheroes. And between DC and Marvel, you can really compare a lot of those different archetypes. Rich, smart guy, you've got one of them on each side. So it's natural that you would kind of get like a supernatural, god-like character that is a king in some respects of their respective realm, that has magical powers and a magical item that they need, and then possibly them falling in love or getting married or having a child would possibly end up in the story. And that's, you know, at first I was like, oh, it's the instant daddy effect, which is something I've seen in media a lot and I really think is funny, but also love, and it can be played up to different varying degrees of success. That's not what this video is about. Both the most recent Thor movie and this film, this Aquaman Lost Kingdom, both kind of have. So I feel like they're making strong connections to Thor that even if you're going into this maybe not thinking about Thor and you're really focused on Aquaman, I feel like you're still seeing the comparison. The other issues we have is we have a villain storyline where the villain has been wronged by the hero in some way and might say that they are rightful in their cause, but then they get into the deeper realms of magic, and then mind control starts to be used where their influences and their actions are not of their own volition. And again, I'm reminded of, again, maybe this is just because it's me, and you can correct me in the comments if you feel differently, this reminds me of the first Avengers film conflict, where not only do we have a brother who is a villain, but we have mind control going on. We have influences of more powerful beings in the universe going on. Also, we talk about the death of an entire kingdom or civilization that visually reminds one of the Ragnarok story in Thor Ragnarok and the destruction of Asgard. Again, I think that's possibly fair to say that I'm making the Thor comparisons. So I guess we'll move on from that. I just feel like this film wants to be a Thor movie so bad. It's even leaning more into the comedic side of Aquaman, of Jason Momoa's skill set, and not going as serious. The one thing that I just didn't really understand about this story particularly, because you might be saying, Sasha, we get it, you're not a DC fan, get off your high horse, get off your little soapbox, just tell us about the plot of the movie. Just tell us. This movie also in its plot wanted to be another movie. It felt to me like it was trying to be a funny movie about the end of the world and about climate change and pollution, which reminded me of Don't Look Up. Maybe again, I'm making assumptions and connections here that most people are not making and are not interrupting most people's enjoyment of the actual film itself. Again, it could totally be me, and I'd be more than happy to admit that that is the case. I just felt like this film went from being about, okay, it's us versus the surface world, to it's us versus this guy that's trying to kill the surface world and therefore poison the ocean. It's also us versus the council, and the council doesn't want Atlantis to be public. What else? What other possible superhero movie have we seen before where there is a council of leaders who does not want their nation or kingdom to be known to the outside world because they have advanced technology and they're gonna kind of protect themselves? Like, literally the end of this movie even tries to specifically joke about how much it's trying to be like a Marvel movie. Again, I understand, play meta humor. It just, when you don't commit to the bit throughout the whole movie, it just doesn't work. I'm sounding even more negative than I really thought I was gonna say. Needless to say, I was really not a huge fan of this movie. A large portion of it, I'll be completely honest, I've kind of forgotten. The plot of this movie, if I can get past all the other jargon, does sort of make sense. We are trying, actually, no, it doesn't. I can't remember what it is, which is not the fault of the movie. That's my problem. And I apologize to my Aquaman fans out there for being so negative about this one, because you guys exist. Listen, if that's one thing I learned at the screening, Aquaman fans exist, because at the screening, when the movie ended, a bunch of people cheered. And I am so happy for you guys. That's all I got. Have a great night, everyone. Please subscribe if this was not too horribly negative for you. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.